After World War I, Eastern Europe descended into chaos. The Treaty of Versailles redrew borders, but instead of unity against the Soviets, nations like Poland, Lithuania, Czechoslovakia, and Ukraine fought over land. This infighting allowed the Bolsheviks to crush the White Russians and establish their regime over the largest country on Earth. But here, the final decision is up to you. Get this video to 5,000 likes to secure a White Russian victory over the Bolsheviks. If you're new and love alternate history, subscribe to join over 46,000 compatriots and help the channel grow. Now, let's begin. In hindsight, Versailles and Europe's response to communism were abject failures. To see if you could do better, I gathered 30 people from my Discord to represent nations, ethnic groups, and movements historically present. Each participant was assigned votes based on their influence, with key events affecting the outcomes. This video focuses on the Eastern Front of Versailles. Check out part 1 for Western Europe. Future episodes will cover Hungary, Bulgaria, and Turkey, so if you'd like to represent a nation, join my Discord server. Now, the great powers decided the fate of Ukraine.
Oh, look, guys, Congress is calling me. I gotta go. No, I'm joking. I will recognize Ukraine. They want to be an independent state, let them be an independent state. I recognize their independence.
Friends, we recognize the Ukrainian independence as well.
Germany would like to recognize Ukraine as we are the country who freed them from Russia. Just want to point that out.
A lot of Ukraine is Russian land. You see in Crimea, that is Russian land. That is ethnically Russian. And we see half of Ukraine is mostly Russian territory. So I feel like we should respect the Russians in that territory, and it should be in the motherland called Russia.
I also agree, Crimea is undeniably Russian. It is almost like 100% Russian, and I do think that the eastern border of Russia and Ukraine should be adjusted for ethnic lines.
First of all, I want to make sure that we are all in the same pace here. We are not currently against each other, because our main threat are the Soviets. But to go over this issue of the eastern border, I would say that you claiming a lot of Ukraine being Russian land is simply not true. The Ukrainians were undergoing the history of oppression by Russians, and we will not tolerate the Ukrainians not being able to have those independence. So those lot of Ukrainian lands that are Russian aren't actually Russian. They are majority Ukrainian. Even if they have a few minor Russians, we would help them move to the Russian South Army, where they can fight against the Soviets, which we fondly support. Even if the Russians are not our natural ally, we would support them in fighting the Soviets. So the Ukrainian nation, that should be respected in itself, needs to have trade. We provide 30% of the wheat and the bread that's got distributed in Europe. We would need to have like a good trading port, which Sevastopol on Crimea would definitely be, and we would definitely need that to supply those trade market, which our nation is very dependent on.
The thing with Sevastopol, Ukraine, that Sevastopol is majority Russian land, and Russia doesn't have a warm water port currently. Sevastopol is a warm water port, and the state of Russia needs it.
I will say, on the topic of you guys having a port to be able to trade, I think Odessa would be a much better option than Sevastopol, which you already currently have.
I don't really care about the exact borders here. What I really want are stable and cooperative states. I don't want it to become a flashpoint for future wars. If that means some Ukrainian land goes to Russia or some Russian land goes to Ukraine, that's alright. You know, we could facilitate population transfers or humanitarian aid.
I don't have any issue with Ukraine's claim on Crimea, and we do affirm the status of an independent Ukrainian state. However, we would like to see a compromise, if possible, between the Russians and the Ukrainians regarding Crimea. Perhaps some of them could be done by leasing a port for a temporary period of time, or some other solution.
Yeah, I claim Crimea, and as you can see on the map, the green line also includes Crimea and also includes the recognition of a Cuban state. So I'm claiming the ethnic lines of Ukrainians, which recognize themselves as Ukrainians, with the green line on the map, and also Crimea. Like I said, I'm willing to negotiate with the Caucasus thing, but I think if we are making points about ethnic lines, then those would also include me getting the Caucasus.
So the two main points of contention are Crimea and eastern Ukraine. So I'm asking this to Russia. Is eastern Ukraine, like the part that you have claimed that's north of Crimea, very important to you, or could you be able to drop that claim to for Crimea or not?
If my map does seem unreasonable, I'm willing to drop the lands above Crimea.
The lands above Crimea are unreasonable. That doesn't mean
Ukraine, you're also claiming Rostov, so.
Oh yeah, I'm willing to drop that. I'm saying, I'm willing to cooperate on ethnic states, so the Russians can keep Rostov. So I would make a line right before Rostov, if that's the point that's needed for Russia to agree me getting Crimea. Like we all want a port on warm water, and so Russia should also have one.
Despite Ukraine's willingness to negotiate with Kolchak and Yudnich, Admiral Kolchak decided to open up discussions with the West Ukrainian People's Republic, a small state fighting Poland for Lvov.
West Ukraine, I'm willing to offer you Lvov, and I'll refuse to recognize the Central Ukrainian government in West Ukraine, since you and them are at odds with each other in Ukraine.
Good proposition, but I already talked with Ukraine, with Poland. We have talked about it, about like propositions. Although I really wanted Lvov or Lviv, it became apparent, to me at least, that it wouldn't be possible. Because first of all, I'm surrounded by much stronger powers, like Ukraine and Poland, who is like really strong. So we made a compromise that we will make a border. I will gain Carpatho-Ruthenia and Ukrainian part of Bukovina, and the border will go from Stanok to Bug River, and it will also include Lvov, which will be Polish actually, but the city of Lvov will be very close to the border of Ukraine. And also the political pressure from both of the states have actually forced me to agree to it. So I'm sorry.
I don't think you need to agree to that, West Ukraine. I feel like, honestly, I think you deserve Lvov, and you deserve some additional territories around Lvov, quite frankly, over the Ukrainian government. The thing is, Ukraine, let me explain this to you. If you don't get the city of Lvov, you will die in the future. You need Lvov for your future nation survival. Because what's stopping Ukraine and Poland from just invading you 5 years down the line, West Ukraine? Because you need the Lvov, and you need additional territories to survive as a nation.
The thing is, I will unite with Ukraine at some point. It is actually a thing that I will do. But what I want is to have the most of the Ukrainian people to be inside Ukraine. So also I have made a deal with Ukraine that I would have an autonomy because a slight difference of religion. So I will kind of exist inside the Ukraine Republic.
Another thing, West Ukraine, is that you and the current Central Ukrainian government have been odds for last year, and you two are at odds with each other. I don't know why you want to immediately reunify with Ukraine. That doesn't seem like something you'd do, West Ukraine. And like, yeah, you get autonomy, but still stopping the majority Orthodox in Ukraine from punishing you in Lvov. I don't see how that stops them. I think you should get Lvov for your survival and the survival of your people.
Despite Kolchak's arguments, West Ukraine remained committed to Ukraine. While positive for Ukraine, the Poles found this equally objectionable.
I can't support Western Ukraine joining formally with the Ukrainian People's Republic. They'd have to be an independent state.
they would be hardly autonomous in having only foreign policy and militarily be unified. They would have their own government, their own representative, even their own language if they want to.
I would prefer to argue about the borders being a little bit further east if they're that closely connected, even militarily. I think just because the nature of the treaty, I think that we have to consider a lot of different factors here, and I think that my only concern is that it will just formally join Ukraine at some point. I would want the line to be pushed to the southern river.
Joining Ukraine is a thing they could do, but it's not something they really wanted to, especially if they have so large parts of autonomy. They wouldn't want to just throw it away. And Poland, we can promise you that this shouldn't start any war. So I even, if you really are worried about Ukraine being too powerful in the East, we can even propose you a perpetual peace treaty, which we and the West Ukrainian government would sign to ease your mind about those.
But the issue is what condemnation comes from the great powers if you break that treaty. If you will give a constitutional guarantee that they will not formally join, I will agree.
I'm doing that, Poland. Whatever it takes. Like I said, I'm even considering a perpetual peace, which is way more than that. So whatever it takes.
Regarding the Lviv area, if West Ukraine remains independent, then I'm okay with moving that western border of the Western Ukrainians to the west a little bit.
Yes, it's alright, but although I would prefer to do it like here it is, but it would go with a river, like, and this is fine. I agree with that, because it will make a really nice transition into Carpathian Ruthenia, which I claim, and I will do it in Saint-Germain, so yeah.
As long as we can discuss Carpathian Ruthenia during that, then yes, I agree.
I can just become like a small state, although I will be a fake nation, like Belgium, who is made of people who speak Dutch and people who speak French. I can be connected to both Poland and Ukraine, but not not exactly dependent on them.
With Poland and Ukraine on board, the Great Powers ratified the creation of an independent West Ukraine centered in Tarnopol, which was formally named the Galician People's Republic. Despite the borders agreed to by Poland, Ukraine, and Galicia, a number of states objected to Galicia's final borders, refusing to settle them until the Treaty of Saint-Germain-en-Laye, alongside the rest of the Austrian lands. With Ukraine and Poland drawing closer, America shifted back towards Russia.
Well, I just want to point out, I was going to say here, that one of the greatest threats to Europe right now is Bolshevism. And who's fighting Bolshevism right now? That would be the White Russians. And I do support Ukrainian independence because of their right to self-determination, but I think I'm going to have to back the Russian claims here for, like the basically going up to the Dnieper, could basically support the Russians when it comes to claims. So Russia needs these territories, especially now. America's dropped a lot of money into this conflict, the Russian Civil War right now, so we're pretty much staunchly allies with the White Russian government. So
maybe instead of giving them to the Dnieper, wouldn't it be better, like, to just give them what they claim?
The Dnieper is a good natural border of Europe. Ukraine should be west of it, and Russia can be east of it. And they can decide how they want to do any of that after the treaty.
The Bolsheviks aren't stopping at taking over Russia. Which means that Russia aren't the only ones that will have to fight the Bolsheviks. Other places like Ukraine or even Poland will also have to fight Bolshevism if we don't stop it. So I don't think it's a good argument to give Russia more land than is necessary. I'm not totally against the Russian proposal, but I don't think that it's a fair argument that they are fighting the Russians, as they're not really the Bolsheviks, because they're not really fighting alone.
Russia must be strong to defeat the Bolshevik threat.
Expect that this is really self-determination, like the US player like it. and I think it's really based on ethnic lines, these new maps of Ukraine, and also I will preferably support Poland and Ukraine instead of Russia. I will still support Russia, but I would prefer to support the new independent nation.
I have a question for the Russian state. I obviously recognize you as the real Russian government, and the one that was in charge before was the one that in 1915 signed the Treaty of London. So I got to know for my support for you here. Do you recognize it?
The Treaty of London?
Yeah, Russia signed it, and I recognize you as the real Russian. So I'm asking you if you recognize it.
Yes, I do in fact recognize the Treaty of London.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Then I vote for you.
Although a minute vote, Italy, alongside Britain and America, forced through the new Russo-Ukrainian border. France and every other state supported the Ukrainians, but France did not have the political power to win after the Rhinish shenanigans marred their diplomatic sway. Despite the setback, Eastern Europe attempted to strengthen unity through a new alliance.
I've been in conversations with Lithuania, Czechia, the Ukrainian national state, and West Ukraine in forming a new, not singular state, but loose alliance, whereby we do military exercises and training together, as well as a currency that people can join onto if they wish.
And Intermarium would be a EU-like concept with a shared currency. You could join, but you are not forced to. We have shared military operations, but not a shared military. You can keep your own. And that would be an open alliance that does foreign policy together, like for greater cooperation between the eastern states that are currently fighting the Soviets, because the Soviets are a much larger threat.
To discuss those claims, though, I feel like it's first important to establish the states themselves. So we'd like to do that after establishing firmly what the boundaries of the states that would compromise said intermarium would look like. Historically, for the past 123 years, while Poland has been occupied, the city has been firmly Polish. Lithuanians make up less than 3% of the population. The only way that they can even come close to the Polish population is if they claim that Belarusians are Lithuanians, which the Belarusian representative in here will attest that they are not. Firmly, again, while it was historically important to Lithuania, it was also historically important to the Polish state. As such, we believe that Vilna, the city proper, should go to Poland.
While Vilnius is not strictly Lithuanian, it does have a significant minority and is surrounded on 3 sides, one of those sides being the Polish side, by majority Lithuanian territories. The only country that could realistically claim it without occupying majority Lithuanian territories would be Belarus, which I don't believe they are claiming it at all. Likewise, Lithuania does have interest in being in the Polish alliance, and if we are in the Polish alliance, there should not be a significant issue with us having Vilnius, as we'll still be within the same economic and political union, just not the same country per se.
I think that we could settle the Vilnius question pretty quickly. I mean, that's up to you. That's up to you.
I'm not going to get rid of my claim of it, but I don't believe I'll be able to get it.
I just want to say I was in favor of Vilnius going to Lithuania.
Oh, if there's people in favor of it, I will go for it, for sure.
I mean, I did just, I don't see why not. It is the historical capital. I'm sure Bev and Poland can somewhat cooperate or stuff or anything. I'm just let's throw that out there, If it is their capital, right, it's very important to their national infrastructure. Why not get it? Poland is a very large country.
Because it has majority. It's less than 3% of the population. The next highest proportion of the population, it goes Poles, Jews, and then Belarusians. And also, it's also an important capital for Polish culture as well. We are trying to assign the title of capital to something that is extremely contested. Even the Poles will admit that it's extremely contested. If we are going by the historical capital claim, the Grand Duchy of Lithuania was bounded by the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in 1569 to the Polish crown, not the Lithuanian crown. So it would actually be a Polish crown land by 1569. So we have to recognize that if we're doing self-determination, we could do a plebiscite in Vilnius, and it could be monitored by the League of Nations.
I would support that, because listen, I just see it like this. Despite everything, Lithuania needs to be a set-up country. Lithuanian and Poles have very close cultural ties. Even if there is a majority of Polish people there, surely you two can cooperate. Like, there are Polish and Lithuanians are like brother nations. You guys were in a Commonwealth before. And Poland will still be a very large major player, even if it does not include this city. Right, but this isn't like we're stripping half of Poland away, or a major industrial region, or a staunchly super Polish area, even if it is, I guess, very densely populated by Poles. Should we come to a compromise here? Like, Lithuania needs to establish itself as a powerful nation, for lack of a better.
We also have to discuss the areas surrounding up into the northeast around Vilnius, which are also heavily densely populated by Poles.
They are not that significantly Polish, except on the Polish ethnic map. One is just reiterating the Lithuanian ethnic map from 1917. It is barely 2 years old. And the other one is what I suggest for a plebiscite region around Vilnius. It does not include any of my existing territories that I currently occupy, and it does not include anything north of the Wilna River, which everything north of it is basically 100% Lithuanian.
That's not true. There are portions of that area that are north of Volhynia that are absolutely Polish in terms of its ethnic and linguistic composition. Again, we're also using a skewed version. Lithuania is using a skewed version of Lithuanian here, where they're basing it off of a fictionalized Lithuanian ethnic identity. That means Belarusians are included in there, because if Lithuanians and Belarusians are included as Lithuanians, then yes, that statement would be true, but the Belarusians don't identify as Lithuanians, and
this
as such,
map that I am using does not include Belarusians, as it was made in 1917 by a German cartographer.
Well, there were plenty of German maps that had Belarusians as a separate ethnic identity. Secondly, if we're including the ethnographic map, that was written, if I'm not mistaken, by Dr. Kettler, who was working for the German government at that point. And if we're going by that standard wouldn't really work, considering that the Germans had actively been using Lithuanians to repress Poles and were extremely anti-Polish in their nature. I would doubt the legitimacy of said map. And additionally, we also have other maps from the region from 1917, including the census data. We have the census data from the 1916 German census.
So the German census from the year prior is valid, but not the one from the year after, is what you're saying. That doesn't make sense.
Are you trying to suggest that somehow in a single year, the entirety of Vilnius went from being 89.8% Poles to being Lithuanian overnight within a year?
No, the map doesn't show it as Lithuanian. It shows that there's a Lithuanian minority in that area.
Yeah, and
the city still is not shown as Lithuanian on the ethnic map I am posting.
I agree to the areas in the south, but there are areas, especially to the northeast, like Vilnius, that are firmly Polish cities. They were founded by Poles. They are primarily inhabited by Poles.
Wrocław is also outside of the majority Lithuanian region that I am claiming.
If you are just going for that southern region, then I would agree to that statement other than Vilnius, because Vilnius is ethnically... If it's just the areas that you're claiming regarding the stuff in the pink on the ethnic map, that stuff is ethnically Lithuanian. Even I can't deny that, and I wouldn't be opposed to that, but Vilno is ethnically Polish. It is majority Polish. The second highest ethnicity is Jews who speak Polish. It's Polish. And we already have experience, too, because during the uprisings that were happening throughout Poland, they were declaring themselves as Poles, not as Lithuanians. You would be basically importing a Lithuanian capital on a people that don't want it.
I will just say, but if we can't reach a compromise on Vilnius, we should just take it to vote.
Despite the American calls, General Yudenich of the White Army had other designs, offering an interesting arrangement to the Poles.
Poland, I will support you in gaining Vilnius if you would support me in partitioning Belarus. Obviously, you'll be included with some land, but I do believe in partitioning the illegitimate government of Belarus.
If you're supporting someone for partitioning Belarus, wouldn't Lithuania be a better option? Since we actively claim Belarusians are Slavicized Lithuanians.
You will also gain land if we do end up partitioning Belarus, but I do in fact support Poland in gaining Vilnius.
Why don't we let Belarus speak first?
I already have an established border with Poland or Lithuania, and I support Polish Vilnius, and Lithuania claims in Prussia. First of all, I would like to state that Belarus wants the Bolshevik destroyed. They are the threat to all countries that will now be free themselves from Russia. They not only want to conquer but also destroy our culture and religion of our people. Belarus should have these borders, I will sort them now. On these borders, Ukraine, Poland and Lithuania already agreed. There's only Russia.
I do support the independence of Belarus, but I do think that's going a little bit too far. Could we perhaps cut it off at Smolensk? Smolensk is ethnically Belarusian by majority.
I'm fine with border on Smolensk, and maybe west border would look like in real life, but with Smolensk.
I feel like Belarus doesn't really have a true cultural identity.
I'm going to have to disagree with that belief, as I have 5 Belarusians on my national council, all of which have participated in Belarusian revival movements, including distancing even their name from the Russian name, changing it from Belarusian to Krivichian.
Mr. Lithuania, I'll support you. So I will support you getting Vilnius, and you'll get some more lands in Belarus if you support me getting Belarus.
You're in Siberia. How are you going to march all the way over there?
I mean, me and him are in connection, and I'm currently in Estonia, in Finland.
Let me remind you that Belarusians fought in the November and January uprising together with the Poles for the independence from Russia. So we fought with you already for independence. So we have history, but we were under Russian oppression and Russification.
Question though, are you currently fighting the Reds, or are you kind of just being complacent?
The Belarusians are fighting the Reds on behalf of Lithuania at the moment, due to me owning their president on my council.
As the Russians, I do think Lithuania should be expanded with Vilnius and more border regions into Belarus. Because I think Belarus as a state shouldn't exist, quite frankly. I think it's an illegitimate state created by the Germans during the illegitimate Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. I'd like to know Belarus should not exist because the Germans making an illegitimate treaty. So
Brest-Litovsk only even existed as a whole because the Reds came into power and then very swiftly made a deal that they shouldn't have made with the Germans, and that only they wanted to do, and no one else would have done or agreed to such a ridiculous proposal from the Germans. Therefore, it's illegitimate.
How about Poland would like to make a counteroffer? Poland gets Vilnius, we split parts of Belarus with Russia, and then the areas that we annex in Belarus get to stay an autonomous part of Poland as a Belarusian autonomous area. I'm willing to support Polish expansion at the expense of Lithuanian expansion in the east. Oh,
I think
White Russia,
I have a constitutional protection for Belarusians specifically.
I also have a constitutional protection for Belarusians. In fact, mine was actually signed by the Treaty of Versailles. Secondly,
I also have
more
the president of
importantly,
Belarus on my council.
More importantly, Russia, I have something that Lithuania doesn't have right now, which is an army, a fresh and fit army that is larger than Lithuania's army.
Okay,
Which is
That is a great point, actually.
If you want my army, I haven't invaded Russia properly yet. So in that situation, I could help you from the USSR's western border and help set up a western offensive.
I think the White Russian government is backing Lithuania here. I think Lithuania
As the White Russian government in the north, I am backing Poland.
Oh, typical White Russians.
Don't worry, Belarus. I'll give you protection.
I would like independence, but in the face of threat of conquest, I would rather find myself under Poland with the equal rights for my people. At least we can say that we are Slavic brothers or something, but I'm not very pleased with that, but everything is better than Soviets.
Yudovich, I remember, Yudovich, I'm the person who brought glory to Russia as we retook most of Ukraine. And I do think we should very well back the Lithuanian cause in this, due to the United States of America aiding us more with this cause.
Listen, I'll send more American money if you back them.
I'm literally going to go in, declare war on the Soviet Union to help Russia in exchange for the agreement that they have offered.
Now that's interesting. I'd say we back Poland then.
Despite the Lithuanians attempting to properly integrate Belarus into their nation and bringing many Belarusians into their government, the Belarusians rejected their overtures, joining Poland. Lithuania and Poland agreed to stop their war, which, crucially to Russia, meant Poland's army of 1 million men would be joining them directly against the Soviets, potentially turning the tide in their favor. Although the border between Poland and Russia was settled, Pilsudski, the Grand Marshal of Poland, and General Yudenich came to an understanding that Poland could acquire more Belarusian territory after the Bolsheviks were eliminated, unbeknownst to any other power. Eyes now shifted towards the Baltics and Estonia.
My claims are not very complicated. And that's all I want, just to secure a bit of territory around Narva, so it'll be more protected. I don't really claim much, I just want a guarantee of my independence. And that's it. These are my claims.
As General Yudenich, I completely agree that Estonia should absolutely become independent. There's no question in my mind about that, considering that they're pretty much the base of the Northern White Army at this point and are generously supporting our troops. Yes, I am fine giving that to Estonia, and Estonia will remain independent.
Maybe just a bit smaller territories around the southern border with Russia. Something like that. Just some more meat to protect my core lands.
Yeah, I feel like that's very reasonable as well. In case there's no way it would ever happen, but in case the push to Petrograd fails, that's completely fair.
As Yudenich supported the minor border alterations, Estonia achieved their goals. With their Belarusian prospects dashed, Lithuania pivoted towards Latvia to solidify their standing amidst the increasingly hostile neighbors.
I did have a claim on Latvia through Vladas Mironas, who suggested a political union between Lithuania and the entirety of Latvia, forming a two equal state federation. Because we are the two Baltic countries, the only ethnically Baltic people left in the world. This is specifically a Baltic Union.
I could support a Baltic Union.
What would the internal borders look like of this Baltic Union?
They would be the borders shown on the map in the stream.
If the ethnic populations there would support it, I would be okay with it. I just don't know if all Latvians and all Lithuanians would approve of this.
The point of the union is not for a Lithuanian-dominated union, but for a Baltic state which can defend itself against the Soviets, and now, more pressingly, Polish, who are incredibly dominant in the region with the vote that was held previously. Also, Latvia almost doesn't exist currently.
I would like to do it for secure defense against the Soviets and any Soviet aggression, and so the Lithuanians don't hurt me.
I'm not opposed to it. I mean, it makes somebody else who's part of the proposed union idea stronger, so I support them.
Not support this since there's no, like, major claim on any Latvian lands, and also it would be another fairly unified, strong army to fight the Soviets.
That region that's like striped, it's Latgalia, I think, which is a region who has a lot of Slavic people in it. So I just wanted to ask if, I don't know, Russia wants that?
I don't really know about any, like, plans on taking Latvian lands from Yudenich himself or Kolchak, really.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to ask about that.
You know. Should do, I see in Western Europe, they have all these plebiscites. I think we should do a plebiscite. Yeah? Great idea to do a plebiscite.
Oh, in the Russia land, I would agree to a plebiscite in the Slavic mixed areas.
Kolchak's Latgalian plebiscite was agreed to by Latvia and Lithuania, leaving no border disputes with Russia. So with their east settled, Lithuania pushed for Lithuania Minor and Klaipėda.
If I may, I also have one more claim for the Lithuanian government, and that is Lithuania Minor. This region is covered by what is called the Act of Tilsit. The Act of Tilsit was signed by people within that region, requesting to be annexed by Lithuania. And, as shown on the ethnic map I have been posting, made by Germans, that region is very heavily Lithuanian, even if it's only 30-40% the majority of it. And giving me at least up to the red line on what I drew would give me a very defensive river border with Germany, so that Germany could not later reinvade. It would also give me the port of Klaipėda, known in German as Memel, which is a very important port to Lithuania in order to access the Baltic Sea.
Yeah, so I think Lithuania makes a couple poor points. One of them, he even admits that the area isn't even majority Lithuanian he's demanding. You also have this Act of Tilsit, which is by no means representative of the actual population there. A few members of the area have signed this. It is by no means a vote or a plebiscite or a survey of anything. So I don't think Lithuania has a good claim to this through the Act of Tilsit at all. I'd like to add on, Lithuania also mentions the importance of the port of Malmo, but now they own the port of Riga through their federation, so I think this argument also falls flat.
The port of Riga is still Latvian. It is not within the Lithuanian half of the union.
Yes, but it's a union, so you would have free access to it.
If I'm allowed, I have posted a map. This is a map of actual demographic divisions.
That is a language map. I am posting an ethnic map made by Germany.
Well, is it not about language that you speak and culture you have rather than your heritage?
So the idea that this is an accurate ethnic map is very dubious.
Why are you saying it's dubious when you're the one who made it? Are you saying that you're a liar?
Okay.
Are there more Lithuanians than what you're saying?
Lithuania, I'm trying to internationally arbitrate here through a neutral lens, and we do accept that Lithuania is entitled to lands with Lithuanian majority, but claiming all of Lithuania Minor with so many ethnic and linguistic Germans is frankly ridiculous.
No, especially is what you're talking about the Netherlands, of giving them majority German in your own proposal, despite you claiming to be neutral, you want to give them majority German stuff anyway.
That was a compromise. That area is at least a lot less densely populated, and it would leave Königsberg in a lot more defensible position. The Lithuanians, what they propose is leaving Königsberg extremely exposed.
I have no intentions of invading Germany. I just want the regions of that Lithuania Minor that are Lithuanian, which is up to the red line.
Then you can only claim up to the Memel River.
And the green line that I posted is the areas that are majority Lithuanian, not just plurality.
Yes, the Netherlands would be completely fine with a Memel River border.
I would like the
that's
small
not
portion
but-
south of the river that is also majority Lithuanian.
Yeah, I wanted to say, and probably America, who's all about self-determination, probably would back this. Like, I think it's fair that Lithuania gets the clearly, like, even the blue line, half of the blue line is German. I think it's fair for Lithuania to get all of the green part, where it's majority Lithuanian, but then the red part, this entire red part should stay to Germany for me. And Mr. USA, you're all about determination, so I think you would like it. I think that's a good compromise for you.
This green line is where it is majority Lithuanian, the red line is plurality, and the yellow line is minority, for reference for everyone. I would like the plurality line, as Germans do have ethnic protections in Lithuania, and they would be allowed to practice their culture and language. However, I, at minimum, demand the majority regions, as those are strictly Lithuanian peoples.
I guess, like, no offense, Lithuania, but I don't know, like, who you are to demand land from anyone. Additionally, this green line isn't even actually all majority Lithuanian with how, from the maps that we've seen.
Okay, I think that the Lithuanians should get what they got historically. Like, I think that it's really reasonable. It would give a port to the Lithuanian part of the federation, of the union that they form, if they eventually separate again. But I don't think that expanding it to the green line it's reasonable.
Okay, Germany has already been stripped of the Rhine. We have conceded territories to Denmark that, you know, they had historical claims on. Germany has already lost a lot from this, okay? And Lithuania has managed to unify with Latvia and is going to work on securing that land with the White Russians. All right, Lithuania has already gotten great concessions in this. Germany should not lose any more land whatsoever. At all. I don't want any of this. Germany should hold on to Memel. Germany should not lose any territory to Lithuania. And that is my stance on this. That's my stance on this matter. I do not like any of this at all. Germany should not lose this land.
So France will support Lithuania in the priority lines because I think we have to recompense the Lithuanians, especially when we see what the Germans did to them, especially in World War I, where they enslaved some of their population to participate in the war effort. And I think that to acknowledge these crimes that Germany made, we have to compensate the Lithuanian peoples.
Despite America fiercely supporting the Germans, and the French unsurprisingly pushing to punish them, the Dutch arbitration won out, granting Lithuania, Klaipėda, and parts of Lithuania Minor. As the tides turned more against Germany, they laid out their proposal for Danzig and East Prussia.
So the idea was Danzig will be like leased to Poland, so they'll have like free like shipping access, and that purple land will like remain part of Germany, but like Poland will have free movement of like goods like through there, and I guess like some like freedom of movement to some degree. And then I also wanted to that black zone in the south, it'll be a part of Poland, but Germany will have like some resource rights there because since we lost our like major coal source in the Saarland, I think to like maintain our economy and the balance of power, we need resource rights there.
If we are going by America's 13th point in his 14 points, Poland deserves to exist. In fact, that's something Wilson recognized, and Wilson also supported access to the sea, as Poland does. The Polish corridor is entirely ethnically Polish. Now, Danzig itself, the Poles will admit, is not a Polish city, at least not in terms of ethnicity. Historically, it was founded by our first founder, Mieszko. It is the only viable port on the Baltic that we can have left, and it's the only available way that we can get sea access. I am willing to agree to the resource rights in Silesia, but in exchange, I would be given the corridor in Danzig. Right now, Germany already has plenty of ports that it can receive shipping access through, including other Baltic ports, as Lithuania didn't get all of its claims, including two of the biggest ports in all of Germany, in the form of Hamburg and Lübeck, are two of the biggest ports in Europe, I meant to say. So I feel like the resource rights for coal and stuff are more essential to rebuilding Germany than Danzig ever will be.
A couple problems. Poland had a blatant lie that it's like 100% Polish, and that's very false. Even looking at the ethnic map, it's a little misleading because those small specks of like German actually constitute the major cities of the region. So where Poles occupy more land because they're more rural, the population comparison is much closer than Poland is letting on. Additionally, I am giving the Poles free access to sea through Danzig, which they will be leased either maybe indefinitely or for the next 50 years. I guess that could be specified. And then they'll have free access through this trade corridor.
The only issue I see with that is, one, the majority populations in those areas actually are Polish if you go by census data from Germany, even prior to the war. Including the 1905 and 1907 census shows that the majority of that area is not only claimed by Poles, but slightly outnumbers Germans in terms of total population. Secondly, more importantly, the whole reason why there's Germans in a lot of these contested areas is because the Prussians ethnically colonized these areas through an act of colonization, the likes of which we only see in places like Africa. You guys set up the Prussian Royal Settlement Commission, which literally ethnically displaced Poles and built farms on the existing remnants of Poles that were forced out of their homes. So when you have a situation like that, we are just returning to what is rightfully, historically, ethnically ours, which is why we also believe that the areas of Silesia should go to us, but we are willing to concede the resource rights as we also recognize that the Rhineland was taken away from you. We are willing to concede that you can get some of the resource rights. We're not saying that you would be the sole person when it comes to resources. We believe that it is more favorable Poland be given Danzig and the corridor, as not only is the area majority ethnically Polish outside of Danzig, but it's also the only port that we would have. I mean, that is the only port that we are legally able to get our hands on, especially. We want to own it outright. We want to have our own territory, our own national sovereignty when it comes to our coastline.
So a couple points there I'd like to address. Again, like this Polish like trade corridor and the lease of Danzig would be internationally guaranteed. And even with the Royal Settlement Commission, those people are there now. I make the same argument I made in Denmark. Those actions, I don't approve of them and they were bad, but they're there now. So to strip them from their country of origin, I think is a poor choice.
Polish independence is very important to me. Here's my position on this. Originally, I would have been open to the Polish corridor, but after developments in Germany in the West, right, things have changed somewhat. Poland needs Danzig, and it needs its warm water port. Yes, but I do not feel very comfortable with letting Germany be split. Okay, so I'm very admissible to the whole German idea here, except I'm thinking instead of a lease on the city is outright granted to Poland. But I would like the corridor to remain in the hands of the Germans, but with Poland having, unlimited access to the territory there. There have been such crazy developments that have happened in the German West that I'm not just very comfortable with this. Poland needs its port. I like the resource rights, but I'm very admissible to what the Germans have proposed here as their kind of final border thing. That's kind of my position on this right now.
I'm open to the idea, with my suggestion of a lease, it would be, I guess, directly part of Poland, which have to have some autonomy so they can't, so that, like, the very much majority German city has its rights. So I think I would agree to the U.S.'s proposal of that.
Here's my offer. I get the corridor, and Danzig becomes an international free city, where the stakes are primarily given to international investors. Germany has free access through the corridor, and I have special shipping rights in Danzig. And it's not a Polish city, it's not a German city, it's an international city, but Poland gets special access in order to secure Baltic trade. But I get the corridor, as the corridor is ethnically Polish.
Is there any situation in Germany where you'd be willing to accept the Polish corridor?
Unfortunately, with the developments in the Rhineland and Denmark, Germany cannot afford to see any more territory lost, especially just to mutilate Germany and to cut them into multiple pieces.
Poland. You are aware that Germany really isn't looking good right now after they're stuck with Rhineland, and it really can't afford to be split right now. That's not a good situation for them. Is there any sort of compromise?
And Poland can't afford to be split either. If Poland is split from the Baltic Sea, we cannot sustain ourselves. Every economist in the world supports that theory. Poland needs the Baltic Sea port.
If you're granted the port of Danzig, but not the corridor, that's not enough. You need a land connection. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, especially considering that land is made up by ethnic Poles who have already declared themselves to want to be a part of the Republic of Poland after the collapse of the German Empire. They have expressly stated that they want to be a part of that area. Only the Germans in that area have expressed otherwise, and even then, not even all of the Germans, because there are some Germans who have declared themselves for Poland in this situation. We would rather have the corridor than Danzig itself. And we'd be willing to allow Germany to have free access. We'd even guarantee it constitutionally that Germany would be able to have free trade access through the corridor and to be able to reach Danzig. We just believe that we need to be able to get to the sea.
What if you and Germany both made kind of a pact guaranteed by foreign powers for like open borders, open trade, everything? The border barely exists, so that way you guys could all move freely between it. So you get the corridor. No, hold on. You get the corridor, but both of your nations can like move through like the area like there wasn't a border, essentially. So like you both owned it at the same time.
If it's just referring to the corridor and I get the corridor and he can move through it freely, yes, I would agree to that.
I think the idea of like free trade and like free movement between Germany and Poland at the time is extremely unrealistic. And additionally, I'm giving everything Poland's asking for, free access to the sea and trading rights, I'm giving him with my proposal. I just like to point out, and he's talking about, again, there's ethnic Poles here. Well, there's ethnic Germans too, and he's even like, I think the idea that there's like ethnic Germans who want to be part of Poland here is a bold-faced lie from Poland as well. So I think Poland has very, very poor claims here.
Russia here. I think that this land should go to Poland. I think that I'd say it's a significantly more ethnically Polish land than German. I do think Poland needs sea access to the Baltic to keep their economy afloat and have a decently strong nation. So it should go to Poland.
Yes, another phone call from Russia. I just want to say the land that's in between Prussia and Pomerania was not German until the first Polish partition. Germany has basically no claim, at least historical claim, and not really even demographic claim to this territory. And also, East Prussia has been an exclave for so long. It originated as the Teutonic Order and then became part of Brandenburg Prussia and was an exclave until 1792. And also, if they do have open borders, I don't think it's really a problem. So I think this territory should be basically Polish, but it's Danzig that's the bigger problem, because Danzig is a German city, but it's very necessary for Poland to have access to the sea.
I wanted to say that in the situation that Germany is now, they have lost a lot of land to Denmark, they have lost the Rhineland, the loss of the Danzig corridor obviously will be seen as a humiliation for Germany, an even bigger humiliation, and this will only create resentment. However, I do understand the point of Poland, so I'm against the Polish corridor. However, if it occurs, Danzig should go to Germany, as it's a majority German city.
I've tried to compromise with Poland after all the Rhineland and stuff. Last thing I'll say is I'm pretty much going to be supporting the German proposal for this. This is the only situation really I see going forward to preserve some sort of balance in Europe without dismantling Germany.
I find it strange that America would would abandon its own 14 points, Wilson's own 14 points, to do this, such that it is, if the great powers don't vote in my favor here, I will not be giving resource rights to Germany.
I'd like to say that I agree with the US and the UK. Again, like I said at the beginning of the entire conference, this conference shouldn't be about punishment and annexation. It's about creating a lasting peace. And giving Poland this corridor is only going to make a flashpoint for future conflict.
Unfortunately for the Germans, British and American backing proved insufficient as Poland received the corridor while a free city was formed, though crucially for the Poles, it was known as the Free City of Gdansk, not Danzig, granting them an indirect international consensus that it was culturally Polish, not German. With everyone taking a chunk of Germany, Czechoslovakia decided to ask for minor gains.
We claimed Silesia through the Bohemian Crown, which was held Silesia previously, but we don't need so much territory. We currently just got our independence. We have so much territory is too much.
No, I was gonna say that if we gain that small bit, which is, I think, it's called like the Karkonosha or something, that's what the mountains are called there, it would give us the best defensive border against Germany in case they have some ideas.
So, I'd again like to harken back to my original points of, I guess, punishment for the sake of punishment. Everyone keeps bringing up this idea of protecting themselves from Germany, but Germany has been gutted. I feel like this is not a legitimate claim, and this again is conquest for the sake of conquest. Bohemia isn't even a winning power. And besides that, this area is majority German that he's demanding, even ignoring the Sudetenland, which is also majority German. I think it's again conquest for the sake of conquest, and I think this should be dismissed out of hand.
Germany, I don't think you realize that we are not Poland, France, or something that Germany could actually struggle in a war against. We're Czechia. Like, even if you lose all of this stuff, you would conquer us in 6 hours. So just giving us any sort of advantage on the border would be great.
Again, the point of this treaty isn't to punish Germany or give people defensible borders. It's to redraw a safe and peaceful Europe.
Germany, you said that it was for conquest. This is barely anything. Not a lot of people live there. It's just mostly mountains. It's just for safety for us. And you also said peaceful and safe Europe. You know what would help peaceful and safe Europe? A border that another country cannot invade because it's defendable.
I think the suggestion that like Czechia gaining this like small amount of land will be able to stand up to Germany, one, I think it's an absurd claim. And two, again, I'll say the same thing for the corridor. This only breeds resentment in the future and will cause future conflict between the German people and the rest of Europe. You annexing additional land from Germany and incorporating more ethnic Germans into your land doesn't make Europe more peaceful, it increases the tension.
Germany, the Sudets were already gonna cause that.
So your claim is since you already have some Germans, might as well give me some more?
I mean, yeah, kind of.
We could you can have the Germans, but we could keep the Sudetenland, but you can have the Germans.
Like a population transfer.
Guys, I got this crazy proposal for you. Actually, this kind of matters because you guys will actually be in Saint Germain, so it actually
yes.
Will you support the Treaty of London?
Sure, we support the Treaty of London.
Yeah, we do.
The Czech government.
The lands were granted to the Czechoslovaks as attention shifted towards the German-Polish disputes in Silesia.
The only claims that I have where it's the Polish majority areas, so the pre-war Opoln. Plus, I'd give some of the. I wouldn't give like full resource rights. They wouldn't be able to get all the resources, but I will give some resource rights to compensate for the corridor.
Listen, Germany has lost a lot. Poland, I may have not backed it, but now you do have it. Okay, listen, I would have backed it, but other stuff happened. But you got the corridor. Okay, you got your sea access. Germany does not have a lot of industrial areas left, and even if you give them access and stuff like that, you shouldn't get it. Okay, let Germany hold on to this. You've already gotten a lot. Germany's lost a lot. Let's not strip all their important border regions away. All the claims that people have had against Germany have mainly been fulfilled. Let them keep Silesia. Okay, I think this is completely fair. Germany needs key industrial regions. Silesia is heavily German. Let them hold on to it.
I would agree with you if Poles were a minority population there, but they are the majority population there. It's the same reason why we claimed the corridor and we didn't claim Danzig, is because while we recognize that Danzig is a city that is majority populated by Germans, even though they ethnically displaced us from our historic city, Opon is not only historically Polish prior to the partition, it is majority Polish ethnically, even according to German censuses and maps. So we believe it is best that Poles be reunited with their Polish brethren and that they be given resource rights. Additionally, we said we'd give them resource rights to the area. I feel like that's fair enough.
I wanted to state that even though my claims didn't got fully realized in this treaty, I think that for the East, that we are still fighting a war against the Soviets, especially Poland, which is one of the major forces that's fighting against the Soviets. We would need major territory concession to even realistically keep on fighting. So I wanted to remind this treaty that Poland, as well as myself and many other Eastern nations, are still the forefront of this war against Bolshevism and shouldn't be kept off any major Polish territory just because we want to keep Germany intact.
I mean, the USA is absolutely right with how Germany's been gutted in this peace treaty. I think giving even more land away, especially with key strategic resources like coal and iron being here, is extremely poor choice considering the balance of power in Europe. Additionally, the Poles that live in this area, they have a much higher standard of living under the German government than they do under the Polish one. So I would suggest at the very least a plebiscite, if not given resource rights to this region. I think that's a much better way to do this, where we have a plebiscite in the area, and then if it goes to Poland, Germany would still get some resource rights, and that's the best solution.
I'd be willing to do resource rights for me getting it outright, but if it's a plebiscite, I don't support resource rights. In the sense that if we do a plebiscite and they vote for Poland, that I'm not obligated to give resource rights. But if I do get Poland outright without the plebiscite, I will give them resource rights.
I would just like to say something against the people defending Germany, saying that, oh, if we take too much German land, they will collapse, and, oh, we can't have a major power collapsing, that would be terrible. Currently, we are in a humongous civil war, and are currently facing massive collapse literally everywhere as a direct result of what Germany did. I don't think they should be taken leniently. I think they should be punished. They should still remain a nation, but they should be punished heavily for what they've done. They do not deserve any, leniency whatsoever.
I mean, Lenin did what Lenin does. I guess I have no claim to the good actions of the former German government. I don't think that should be punishment for the modern German government, but here we are. I'd also like to say, I guess I see the way the wind is blowing, so I guess I will rescind my offer of plebiscite if Poland will give me resource rights.
I would agree to that. It's a question of how much resource rights do you get. I don't want it so that it's perpetual too. It's enough to get you recovered, your economy recovered.
I think it would need to basically be in perpetuity, because again, we need a coal source, again in perpetuity. I think something like maybe 75% of the resources would go to Germany.
Absolutely not. Not 75%, that's too high. I'd be willing to do maybe 15%.
Considering that Germany's lost their only other major source of coal being the Saarland, I think 15% to fuel the entire...
That's not true. Lower Silesia has coal mines as well.
Not nearly as much as the land you're claiming, though. Most of the coal is the land you're claiming.
Yeah, and most of the Poles in Silesia live in the land I'm claiming. I'm claiming the lands that have my peoples within it. We also need the industry to fight off the Soviets. Like I said, I'm willing to give off resource rights, but I can't do 75% in perpetuity. That's insane. Especially because that would be pretty much our only major cold region outside of Łódź. So we need to be able to also sustain a Polish state. So we believe that resource rights in the area, I'd even be willing to bump it up to 20%. That's a fifth of the coal and steel and all of that going to you. Not to the Poles, but to you. I think a fifth is a pretty good exchange. but 75% in perpetuity is insane.
I think the idea that 20% is generous is a little bit misleading. I would say that again, I guess if we just want to put this part up for vote, like whatever, but I think 70% is pretty reasonable.
So, what if we give the most eastern part guaranteed to Poland, right? And then we make the rest a plebiscite, and we increase Germany's resource rights to, like, I don't know, 25-30%?
This land must remain German. I beseech the powers. Please vote for Germany.
And I beseech the Americans to reconsider their own points that they set forth during the conference.
Yes, I did set these points, but Germany has been stripped of more and more and more territory.
I cannot be blamed for that, and Poles who wish for a Polish nation should not be punished for the actions of voting for France's proposal. I don't disagree with France's proposal, but I believe that it's necessary.
Okay, so the clarification. Yeah, the most eastern part is going to be guaranteed to Poland. The rest is going to be a plebiscite, and then Germany is going to get increased resource rights to like 30%. I don't know. Basically, the blue part is the part that's undoubtedly like almost 90% Polish, and then the center part is plebiscite, and then Germany gets even more resource rights in exchange.
America backed the Czechoslovak idea for a plebiscite, so most powers, including Germany, followed suit. A referendum would be held shortly, while Germany would receive 30% of the resources if Poland won. With Germany battered and bruised, the British demanded the German fleet.
I just wanted to propose that the German Navy that has to be given away goes to Britain.
Yes, I agree.
If we're gonna divide the fleet, the Netherlands also wants a part in it.
No, it all goes to Britain.
No, I
want
Britannia will not get
most of it goes to Britain. Please, guys. We've been in a 4 years war.
We can't share it, guys. That sounds like communist. We can't share.
Why don't we? Yeah, exactly. We can't share it, so give it to us.
We partition the Navy. It's a partition. It's a European thing.
Or why don't we give? Wait, why don't we give it to the bottom of the ocean?
No, what if we give it to Admiral Kolchak because he likes fleets?
That's right, he's an admiral. He is an admiral. Let's give it to the White Russians. No, I actually like that. Let's give the whole fleet to the White Russians.
Yeah.
I think it should go to me, actually.
No, you already have the largest navy in the world. Why do you want the high seas? Listen, Portugal, I'll sell you 5 battleships, Portugal, okay?
As an admiral, I know how to handle fleets. I know how to use the fleet properly as an admiral. And I think the White Russians deserve a fleet.
Instead of scuttling the fleet to avoid it falling into Entente hands, German officials were bribed by American ones, leaving it intact. After this, the fleet was brought to the Russians, though its usefulness in a land war was unclear. With the European theater of Versailles coming to a close, the multitude of plebiscites agreed upon were now decided. The 2 German pockets of Bentheim and Ems overwhelmingly rejected the Dutch, remaining German. Unfortunately for the Germans, the more important plebiscite in Silesia voted to join Poland. To the east, Latgalia elected to join Latvia instead of Russia, finalizing the borders from Versailles. Next, the Austrian dissolution would be settled at the Treaty of Saint-Germain-en-Laye, shaping Italy and Yugoslavia's future and potentially paving a path for a German Anschluss after years of turmoil. Now, the fate of Russia is in your hands. If you believe the additional aid from America and the entire Polish army would be enough to defeat the Soviets, make sure to get the video to 5,000 likes. If the Whites succeed, they could play an instrumental role in the destruction of the Ottomans, with claims on Armenia, and more importantly, Constantinople. Share your thoughts on the treaty in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more alternate history. Click here to watch another great video, and I'll see you over there. Thanks.